MIAA Monday continues on. MIAA Commissioner Mike Racy joining once again this week, sir. Pleasure as always to have you back on.
Good to see you, Chris.
A lot going on in the MIAA Football Media Day going on tomorrow down in Kansas City. We'll start with some news coming out this morning. Missouri Western Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics, Josh Looney, taking a job out at North Alabama. He'd been with Missouri Western for 4 years. A lot changed under Looney while his time was there. What has he meant, I guess, from your perspective for the MIAA these past 4 years?
Well, first of all, I've known Josh for a long time. We're both MIAA graduates, both from Washburn University. We're obviously of different ages. I'm a little bit, breaking news, I'm a little bit older than Josh, but we've known each other for a while. I actually hired Josh at the NCAA. Josh was working for the Kansas City Chiefs, and we were hiring a new NCAA Division II media person, and Josh had come highly recommended, and that was the first time Josh and I had a chance to connect. And so we've known each other for a while. He's been a great friend. When we both lived in Indianapolis, both working for the NCAA, the first week that he started, I mentioned to Josh, there's some duties and responsibilities that aren't in the job description, and one of those include helping me coach my son's baseball team. And so Josh was my middle son Zachary's assistant baseball coach his first summer in Indianapolis, and probably not hard to believe that the kids loved being around Josh and loved having him part of the team. So we've been friends, and certainly when I became commissioner and had a chance to work closely with President Bartabedian when he was at Missouri Western and he was chairing the MIAA CEO Council, he had asked me about whether I would share some names of individuals I thought would be good athletic director candidates when that job came open. And certainly for me, Josh was at the top of the list, and I knew his background in Division II, his connections with the Kansas City Chiefs, certainly being a MIAA student athlete, all of those things, I think, allowed him to be the perfect candidate at Missouri Western. And he's done some great things in the short time he's been there. I think he's really provided a new energy, brought certainly a new culture at Missouri Western, and the way he's been able to connect with his coaching staff and with student athletes, and the way he's represented the university within the community, I think has been quite impressive. But Josh is leaving for a Division I position. North Alabama is certainly a school that a lot of folks in the MIAA are familiar with. Trips to Florence and following Northwest Missouri State and Pittsburgh State as they've made runs toward Division II national championships when that game was conducted in Florence, Alabama, and that's certainly where the campus of North Alabama is. And Josh will do a great job, and he'll be busy building that program and establishing them as a Division I school. Hopefully someday Josh will be back, and there'll be another opportunity in the MIAA that will allow him to get back closer to home and to be with us again. But I'm excited for my friend, and I know that he'll do great things. He'll do great things wherever he is, and it's great that we still have him in intercollegiate athletics, and will be able to watch and cheer on his success at North Alabama.
I want to ask you kind of about his journey, because everybody's journey is a little bit unique, but going from being a reporter with the Chiefs to working kind of on the media side of the NCAA, then I believe right after that he went into athletic director at East Stroudsburg. If I don't have the sheet in front of me. That's kind of a unique maybe path to getting into, I guess, administration side of intercollegiate athletics. When did you kind of start seeing that this was a passion that Josh would have and be good fits for, athletic director positions like this?
Well, that's what we talked about when I hired him at the NCAA is why, Josh, why would we, offer this job to you to come and work at the NCAA when you've actually, started and have built a very successful career in a short period of time in professional athletics. Because before the Chiefs, he had actually worked as a personal assistant for the general manager for the Orlando Magic. And so he had gone from the Orlando Magic to a recommendation from the general manager at the Magic to Carl Peterson and Lamar Hunt that, hey, here's this young man that was a very, very good Division II football player and wants to get into professional football. And that helped open the door with the Chiefs. And he became the voice of the Chiefs, really, sideline reporter, and did all the Chiefs social media. But Josh, when we interviewed him, he talked about the passion that he had in intercollegiate athletics and being around student athletes, and that his experience at Washburn and what what that provided him playing for Coach Craig Schurig and having that relationship with his coach and people at Washburn that helped make him the type of person he is today. He wanted to be part of that for student athletes, and I think that's really what allows him to be successful as an athletic director. He's a leader. He's a great business person. He knows how to be a good administrator, but I think his greatest skill is the way that he connects with students and how they understand that here's somebody that really is a champion for them, that will do anything for them to help them be successful. And that's really, I think, what draws Josh to intercollegiate athletics and why he's good at what he does. I think one of the things that we saw quickly at the NCAA was just the personality and the energy that Josh has, and it's contagious. I mean, you're around Josh and you want to do things that are great and different and innovative, but he makes life fun, and that's I think that's why people enjoy working for him and enjoy working with him, is because he has a good time doing what he does.
A lot of changes coming from Missouri Western, the MIAA with Josh leaving, but looking at a maybe broader scale of changes across the country with Division I athletics potentially, with OU and Texas potentially leaving the Big 12, relating it back to the MIAA Division II, has there ever been talk or potential for these type of superpower conferences, or is that even a possibility that something like that could happen at Division II, especially with the football side of things?
Well, Chris, it's been an interesting week for sure in college athletics, and the noise about University of Oklahoma, University of Texas, and possibly leaving the Big 12, possibly the Southeastern Conference is the destination. Certainly the news yesterday that the Big 12 Executive Committee got together and had a meeting with the presidents from both OU and Texas, and discussions about a greater share of the television revenue for both schools if they stay in the Big 12. And so certainly we know that both institutions are not happy, that believe that things could be better for their athletic program. And I think what we're seeing play out, and however that plays out this week, whatever Texas and Oklahoma, whatever they decide to do, whatever they do in notifying the Big 12, here are our future plans, and then what that triggers for the Southeastern Conference, and then what the fallout is for other schools in the Big 12, other schools outside the Power Five that believe that this is our opportunity to get in. What happens to the Big 12? What happens to KU? What happens to K-State, Iowa State, Oklahoma State? A lot of things I think to follow this week, but I think it all is related to what we talked about the last couple of weeks, Chris, and that's with the Supreme Court case in Alston, really providing new guardrails in college sports to say that there is really very few things that the NCAA or conferences acting together can really limit or try to control without the courts being ultra sensitive of whether or not this is some sort of antitrust violation. And really the signals are that, the power is going to really rest now with individual conferences. Really should have sent clear signals throughout intercollegiate athletics that this type of activity would be on us fairly quickly. And so, the idea that the Southeastern Conference would think about growing and adding schools and adding historic brands like Texas, Oklahoma. I even heard noise over the weekend that the Southeastern Conference wants Ohio State and Michigan. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I think the future that we're seeing kind of start to bubble up here in Division I is the creation of these super conferences. To your question about whether or not that works in Division II, it really doesn't. In fact, we're at within the MIAA. We have teams that beat up on each other in almost every sport, and teams that if they were in other conferences or other leagues would be champions. You look at a school like Lindenwood that's middle of the pack in the MIAA in football, and they go to the GLVC and they're champions and they're in the NCAA playoffs. And so I think to the credit of the institutions in the MIAA, they're in the MIAA because they want to compete and they want to be the best of the best. And I think our coaches in basketball, football, baseball, softball, volleyball, you name it, they understand that every week is a challenge, every week's a game, that they're playing some of the best competition in Division II. But the reason the super conference concept really doesn't work is because of Division II's structure of regionalization and the idea that every conference is going to get one team in the playoffs, and then the others will have to qualify through automatic qualification, and you're competing with teams in your region, not some sort of national selection. All of that really limits postseason opportunity, no matter how big your conference is. So, I'll be honest, we've had, since I've been commissioner, we've had schools from other conferences that have been very successful in football, basketball, other sports, and they've contacted me about interest in becoming members of the MIAA. And these are schools outside of our current footprint, outside of Oklahoma, Nebraska, Missouri, and Texas, and it's flattering, and it certainly would be would be pretty cool to have a 16 or a 20 team in MIAA that has all of the best teams in the Midwest in the same conference, and feels sometimes like we're close to that already, but it really under the current structure, under the current Division II structure of regionalization, limited playoff opportunities for your conference, it doesn't make a lot of sense to create that super conference model in Division II right now. And right now is the key word. Things could change in the way that the NCAA is structured. This movement in Division I and the reorganization, it could it could fan the flame of conversations that have occurred at certain points in history, including when I was the vice president at Division II. I helped organize some conversations between some upper level Division I football schools and some current FCS football schools, whether we needed a fourth division in the NCAA that would create some opportunities at a little higher scholarship level than the current limits in Division II, and this activity in Division I might fan that flame and recreate those discussions. So, my caveat is right now that the current structure and the current way that Division II is organized doesn't really lend itself to this super conference concept in Division II, but that could change, and that could change pretty quickly, as we're seeing play out in Division I.
This is kind of a two-parter for you then, kind of bouncing off that. First part of it is, do you see a Division II landscape where the regionalization is done away with? But on the same note, we talked about, one team getting in, two teams getting in. There's probably some years that 3 or 4 MIAA teams may deserve to get in, but they don't because of the regionalization. Does that hurt the MIAA sometimes because it is regionalized and they don't want to take all MIAA teams in the central region or whatever region, the MIAA is in?
Yeah, well, we're starting to see that chip away a little bit in some of the sport by sport postseason decisions about how playoff and tournament formats are structured. Football, for example, has started to allow, in certain circumstances, a team from one region, if it's closer geographically, for it to be in another region for that playoff or that tournament, that could happen. And so we're starting to see that chip away a little bit. Regionalization's been good for Division II historically in allowing Division II institutions to operate intercollegiate athletics, and especially the travel piece, in a fiscally responsible way. There's really no reason for a school in Missouri to play a regular season game against a school in Florida. It's not gonna provide a ranking benefit. So for that reason, regionalizations work. But what I would say is that we need to find a way to protect regionalization in the way that we incentivize who you play in the regular season, but we need to find a way to get rid of regionalization or to liberalize regionalization as it relates to postseason organization, how we organize NCAA championships. The idea that right now the current structure wouldn't allow an MIAA basketball team to play another MIAA basketball team for the national championship, I think is wrong. If those are the two best teams in the country if Northwest Missouri State and Missouri Southern, or Northwest Missouri State and Washburn, or Washburn and Emporia State, if those are the best teams in the country in basketball, and the bracket works out that those teams survive, they should meet for a national championship. So we need to find, as a division, we need to be creative. We need to find a way to protect regionalization as it relates to the ways that we schedule games during the regular season. But I would certainly be an advocate for more of a national selection process and national bracketing, like they do in Division I and like they do in Division III. We should be able to figure that out in Division II.
Kind of going to the financial part of it, you talked about a school in Missouri playing a school in Florida in the regular season. How much of it maybe is that financial burden of the travel cost, maybe more than anything else, is maybe one of the reasons why it can be difficult postseason wise or regular season wise to get those different matchups, maybe if that's the right terminology kind of to use there?
Yeah, well, certainly the travel piece, especially regular season, it's not only a cost issue, but it adds to a student missing class, and those have been important reasons why you historically Division II has embraced this regional model for scheduling. Limit costs, keep costs down for travel, and keep our students close to campus, and help them, be able to get back. And it might be a late night coming home from a road trip somewhere, but at least hopefully they have the chance to get up and get to class the next day. Whereas a lot of times with Division I schedules, when you're flying from coast to coast or time zone to time zone, it's tough. But I will say, some of the same constraints related to finances, they do exist for postseason. The NCAA Division II championships budget is driven by the allocation that Division II gets from March Madness. I think we've talked about that before. Yep. So there is a limited pot of money that the NCAA has to spend on Division II championships, and it's quite expensive to put a team on a charter flight and fly them somewhere, as opposed to putting them on a bus and busing them to an opponent that's kind of in that geographic region. But I think there are some creative solutions that I think that many in the membership would embrace, and that that could include that some of these early rounds that might move more teams out of their current region, just to avoid matchups and seeing the same teams. If there are some additional charter flights or additional expenses that maybe there is a cost that some schools in Division II would have to incur as part of their postseason experience. It was a disaster to see what was bracketed for Division II basketball this past spring on the men's side, where we had Missouri Western and Washburn playing each other. And all of the MIAA schools on one side of the bracket, all of the Northern Sun schools on the other side of the bracket. And, it really felt like just, especially in a year where all we did was play against conference teams, just a continuation of the conference schedule. So we need to figure that out. And if it meant, sending Western or Washburn to the Great Lakes region or to the South Central region, and maybe it cost an extra $2,500 or $5,000 to the budget to make that trip. Maybe those are conversations we need to have about some institutional expense as part of that postseason experience. But yeah, the constraints are still there fiscally for Division II, just like they are for Division III, on what the division gets from the Division I March Madness money. But like I said, Division III has figured out how to have a national selection, not a regional selection, a national selection, and also how to organize teams into a national bracket.
I'll get you out of here on this last thing here, and it's something we know for sure is happening. MIAA Football Media Day tomorrow down in Kansas City. The official kickoff, I think, to the school year, maybe the calendar, academic and athletic calendar too. Just how much are you looking forward to just getting down there? We didn't have it last year because of the pandemic, but to have MIAA Football Media Day back this year and have a full season of football.
Yeah, by the time we kick off football, Chris, in a few weeks, it'll be I think Brenna Wynn, our coordinator for MIAA Media, told me it's going to be like 650 days.
Wow.
Since the last time we had MIAA schools on the field against each other. So it's going to be great to see our coaches and our student athletes again. They may not have missed me, but I miss them. I miss seeing them. I miss being around them. It'll be great to be in Kansas City together and talking about football. And we'll be releasing the preseason poll. We'll be doing some fun things with our student athletes, and but it's just it'll feel like with Chiefs camp starting up and media day happening tomorrow, it's starting to feel like football season, even though it's still 100 degrees outside and feels like summer. But these are the things that start to allow us to get ready for fall and to start thinking about a Saturday afternoon on campus and having fun with friends at a tailgate, and then going in and watching a great MIAA matchup. And so we're excited that football's back, and we help kick off the fall MIAA sports season tomorrow. And for anyone out there, Chris, that can't or doesn't really have a reason to be downtown and can't be with us, they can catch all the action starting at 9:30 on the MIAA network. We'll be going 4 hours straight of nonstop live coverage of Media Day, and it'll be a free watch. Anyone that wants to tune into the MIAA network online or on your over-the-top apps on any of your smart televisions, folks can watch tomorrow at no cost.
I filled out my preseason poll. Are you allowed to do one, or is everybody number one in your book going into the season?
Yeah, it's a tie. We've got a 12-way tie. No,
there you go.
I appreciate you doing that. It's we have a media poll, and then we also have a poll that our coaches fill out, where the coaches get to express who they think will be the top teams in the conference. But unfortunately, they don't let the commissioner near any of those fun things.
It's probably safe for you too, just to stay away from those. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm looking forward to seeing you in person tomorrow. MIAA Football Media Day should be a lot of fun. Commissioner Racy, thank you for coming on again.
Good to see you, Chris. Thank you.